Hello, superhumans. I'm Sally, and with me is Christina and Missy, and we are the Wild West of Woo. And we've got some woo subjects to talk about today. And we were talking before we came on, and Christina has some pretty big woo she wants to talk about. So take it away.
All right. So, this is on the topic of synchronicity. Okay.
Okay.
So, many years ago, uh, my first husband and I were standing outside of IU Hospital downtown because he was being treated for testicular cancer,
Oh,
and we were waiting for because we valet parked our car, so we were waiting for our car. And we're standing there and we're standing there and we're standing there and we're standing there. And it's like taking forever. And we're just looking at each other. What did they take the car and go on a joyride? I mean, I'm thinking of, Ferris Bueller's Day Off where they take the car and they go driving around the city. That's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking, and, it's a Toyota RAV4. Nobody wants to take that car out. It's not like it's, an exciting car. That's not it. But while we're waiting, all at once I look over and there is my great aunt standing there. And I hadn't seen her in ages. And she just showed up out of nowhere. And I think we weren't even supposed to have been at a doctor's appointment that day, but it got moved around. So we were there for an appointment and we did all the things. And she was there. And come to find out, she had come to the hospital that day too. She was dying of breast cancer. And so she was going to say goodbye to all of the nurses who had helped her throughout her journey. And we had a really beautiful conversation. It was really lovely. And we hugged and we had a really nice time. And, she walked into the hospital and our car showed up and we got in our car and, drove away, really happy that we got to see her because, she lived further north in Indiana and didn't really get opportunities to see each other very often. So we were really glad to see her. And then a few weeks later, she passed. And yeah. And so if the appointment hadn't changed and the car hadn't been delayed,
you
like
would have missed her
I
like
would
by seconds or
like
minutes.
5 seconds, but that interaction, it was so necessary. And so it's like
That's beautiful.
the universe just lined it all up.
I love
It,
that. Oh my gosh, I have massive goosebumps. It
yeah.
makes me want to cry.
I mean,
Aw.
it's not a really happy story, but it is
But
happy
it is.
because,
It is happy. It's so
you know,
joyful.
Yeah.
yeah, so got to see her and I wouldn't have otherwise. So,
Right.
you know, it's an odd synchronicity, things just happened a certain way for a certain reason. And
Hmm.
yeah,
So waiting for that car would have been just as fine to just chill and say, okay, the car's not supposed to be here yet. Universe, tell me why.
yeah, I
Yeah.
wasn't at that point in my life.
Right.
I wasn't even
Exactly.
thinking in terms of the universe yet.
I understand. And
That wasn't a thing.
yeah.
It was just after the fact, it was all just kind of like, huh, funny how that all lined up, where you're just kind of going, that was weird.
Hmm. Hmm.
And working as QHHT practitioners, I think you're finding that that's kind of like that's how it works, you
Right.
know?
Yes,
You
absolutely.
know,
Yeah.
and it was just like touching on you early on, and now you can put it in a bigger, broader perspective.
Yes, absolutely. I can now. So it's really funny. Now I'm like, well, of course that went that way because it's supposed to go that way. But uh,
Back then.
back then, at that point in my life, I didn't know what I know now.
Hmm.
So now when I
Mhm.
look back, I can be like, well, of course that was supposed to happen. We were supposed to have that interaction. It was necessary, and on and on and on. So
That's amazing. I love that story.
Mm-hmm.
So
I
my story isn't about the synchronicity. I'm sorry, Missy.
Oh,
Did you
I
want
was
to say
just going to
something?
say, I nearly interrupted Christina's story to say, I thought we were on a different subject of Woo for a minute, and I was going to say that she had already passed when you saw her. That's where my mind was
Oh,
going.
Oh yeah, no, yeah,
That's a different
no,
show.
yeah, no.
Okay.
She was coming to say her goodbyes. So
Yeah, so interesting. Yeah. Mm.
so mine's not so much a synchronicity, but is it a time slip or something even more woo that happened to me? So many years ago, when I was in high school, it was actually right before I even got my driver's license. We lived within walking distance of my parents' music store, and so one day I was home, had come home, and my mom was home, which was unusual because usually she's at the store, but she was home early. I don't know why, but she had purchased something for me and she forgot it at the store, and I was like, "Oh, I really, really want it." And so she goes, "Well, it's okay. I'll bring it home tomorrow." And I said, "Oh, okay." So I just left it. And so I just went on upstairs. I started playing my albums, back then with the, one of the big albums and all that. And I'm just upstairs kind of doing my thing. And then the next day happened. And I mom's at the store and I thought, well, but I really, really want this thing that she had got me. I think it was a dress or something or a shirt. I don't know what it was, but I felt like I had to have it. So she's up at the store. Instead of waiting for her to come home, the store is like 2.5 blocks, 3 blocks away. So I just walked up to the store. And when I walk in, the guy that we had managing the store said, "Hey, I have a bone to pick with you." And I said, "What are you talking about?" He goes, "Well, I waved at you yesterday and you totally ignored me." I'm like, "What are you talking about? I waved at you yesterday." And he goes, "Yeah." He goes, "You were walking, it was across the street from the store." He goes, "Yeah, and I waved at you and I said, 'Hey, Sally,' and you didn't even look at me. You just totally ignored me." I said, "I didn't walk up here yesterday." He goes, "Well, yeah, you did." And my mom sitting at her desk said, "No, she didn't. She was with me. And she was playing her music really loud." And I hadn't snuck out. And he goes, "No, it was her." And I said, "Oh, it's just somebody who looked like me." He goes, "No, it was you." Was that a double gang?
Oh, I wonder if it was a doppelganger.
Yeah, I mean, what do I do with a doppelganger? I mean, does that mean if I had seen it, I mean,
Right. Well, that's the
what?
theory. If you meet your doppelganger, you're gonna die.
Yeah, like, but he's still alive. And when I run into him over the years, he still insists that is not somebody who looked like me. I said, "Okay, Mike, you're just trying to save face." He goes, "No, it was you. You probably snuck out." This is his theory. "When you had your music going, you snuck out." And I said, "Yeah, but the only reason for me to come up is to get the thing, and the thing was still there, whatever that thing was." And again, it was an article of clothing, I think. It's been, I mean, we're talking that was like 1976. It's been a while.
Right. That is
Oh,
so
what was that? I don't know.
right. And it wasn't, I don't know, did you desire that item that was left behind so far that part of you energetically started heading for that store and then thought otherwise while you were up
Well,
listening to music?
the next time I have Christina and QHHT, I need to say, "Hey, tap in and figure that out." It's one of those
Right.
mysterious things I haven't even thought about until we came up with a subject, for our video today.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of been stored
That's
away, but it is
crazy
one of
that
the weirdest thing, and for him to stay with it,
yeah.
you
Mm-hmm.
know, how
Yeah.
easy it would be to say, "Yeah, it was probably somebody who just looked like you." No,
Mm-hmm.
he said it was you, you know.
Wow.
So
That's
Strange.
interesting.
So I
did
have
I
a story.
bifurcate?
Uh, I have
Right.
a story in Sedona, probably about 5 years ago. A visit. My family was there, and I will say, like the energy there caused my daughter, who was 20, maybe, probably 19, 20 years old, she was getting this like incredible, like dense thing in her head. We had to just sit down for a while. We went to one of these little kombucha stands and had some to drink. And, she was just kind of letting the pressure come off. And she's not prone to this at all. So I think it was just like it was all coming in. And at that time, we didn't know anything about shielding or putting any kind of like protection around us. So anyways, after she sat down and said, okay, she's okay to walk a little bit, we start walking kind of like through a parking lot. And all of a sudden she does a little yelp, which is so uncharacteristic for any of us. I heard her go like, whoop. And that is just really goofy, not our kind of thing. But I immediately just went whoop back. And then she turns to me and she goes, why did you do that? Why did you make that sound? I said, I just did it because you just did it. She said, I did not do that sound. Why did you do it? And we went back and forth. My husband was there too, but he didn't take either side. But in my mind, I did an uncharacteristic thing following something very uncharacteristic for her. And we just had to chalk it up to Sedona, was it a little jump in time or a skip, or it was just weird,
The question is, that area that you were in is like the mystery points, because I know that when we were in the Black Hills, they had like the mystery spot. And when you go into the mystery spot, you can get really discombobulated. It's like where the balls roll uphill. And if you've got somebody that is shorter than you, like I'm significantly shorter than my family. I mean, everybody's taller than my family. I don't even notice I'm short until I'm standing next to somebody in my family. And then I'm like, oh, Sally's short. But, you can stand like in the same place. And in one place, there's a significant height difference. But if you switch spots, you're the same height.
Wow.
And you're like within 3 feet of each other. It's called mystery spots. Is that area that you were at like a mystery spot? Because it will make you really discombobulated.
Well, we're both, not quite ourselves. And I think a lot of Sedona, it wasn't any designated spot, but a lot of that energy there is prone to that kind of, those kind of things, I think.
Whole Sedona is a mystery spot.
Yeah, I think so, and above that, Bashar and the Asasani in the ship. And yeah, it's pretty busy. So.
Wow.
And like Christina, it was, just kind of getting into some of this kind of thinking and exposure. So, it was odd.
The things I think we were talking about before we started to record was our guides reel. Was it our guides reel? Is that right? Our spiritual guides reel.
The guides, and that was one.
I have a story.
Okay.
Okay.
When it was like, all right, parents, if you have any kids around, you might want to turn it off right now. It has to do with Santa Claus. So there was a rumor going around, it was second grade, that Santa Claus was made up, mom and dad. And I couldn't believe that, it was just like, And so it was after dinner, and back in those days, my mom was washing the dishes and my sister was drying the dishes. She's 5 years older than I am. And I was sitting on the floor next to them doing the work. And I said, I want you to tell me, Mom, is it true? Told her what was going on at school. And my mom didn't believe in lying. So she was like, quiet. I said, no, I want to know. Tell me, is it true? And she goes, yeah, it's true. Santa Claus's mom and dad. Oh, my word. I thought the world had been ripped out from underneath me. I am breaking down in the biggest ball I have ever had in my life. And the doorbell rings. And so it's like, okay, this is odd. First of all, it's probably the second week of December and it's after dark. It's, probably 6:30, 7 o'clock, probably more like 7 because of when we ate our evening meal. And my dad is actually in this room. And we're clear at the other end of the house, and we end up all going to the front door. And we kind of lined up at the same time. My dad was a little bit slow getting to the front door. I guess he thought one of us would answer it and not him. But anyway, we ended up there. We opened up the door, and who was standing there was Santa Claus. And and they're like, he came in and he said, "Hello, Margie. Hello, Vic. Hello, Susie." And he goes, "And Sally, I'm here for you." And I'm like, "What?" And he said, "I want you to know it's important that you continue to believe. You continue to believe, because even though things may not seem the way they're supposed to be, they are exactly as they're supposed to be. But you have to believe. Can you promise me to always believe?" And I mean, he was just on it and on it and on it. I'm like, "Oh, okay." And then I was done. I felt relieved. I felt better. And I'm like, I stopped crying. And, and then he was gone. And so Mom said, "Okay, did you know what was going on? In the kitchen?" I don't know how, because he was in here and the kitchen's way over there. And he goes, "I have no idea." He goes, "Well, who was that?" And Mom or Dad never knew. And as an adult, I pressed Dad, "Who was that?" Well, he didn't know. And I told Mom, I mean, several times we approached it. She lived till she was 89 years old, and up until probably 6 months before she died. I said, come, give. Who was that?" "I have no idea." But she goes, one thing I will never forget. She's always maintained this, how blue his eyes were. And she said, "I knew when I would see those eyes again, I would know that that was the person that showed up at the door." But there was no voice recognition, no eye color recognition ever in the rest of their lives. And they never, ever knew who that was. And so, my husband popped in one day. It was probably colored contacts. I don't think so. I mean, we're talking what, 1967? It's not like color contacts were a thing then. And if they were probably very expensive. So I don't know. I don't know. But that message came in, and it makes you wonder, was that intentional? Was that supposed to be? Because I think at that point, that was such a pivotal point for me. Like, you lied to me, you
Mhm.
know? You lied to me about Santa Claus. How dare you lie to me? When all they're trying to do is give you a magical experience,
Mhm.
something that they capture when they had it for themselves when they were little.
Mhm.
So, anyway, I don't know. I'm thinking, was it my spirit guide, my guardian angel, or just somebody playing Santa Claus that nobody figured out who it was? But it was interesting, and he was on me to make sure I didn't stop believing.
Mhm.
So I call it my guardian angel story.
Mhm. Mhm. So, do we think of spirit guides as an energy that is able to sometimes manifest in a what seems to be a physical form? Then, I mean, based on that story, because I've always just thought about it as that unseen tap on the shoulder, or that message, or that thing that delays you because there's a reason, or speeds you up because there's a reason.
There is one more story. Let me just say it real quick. What you just said sort of made me remember. So when we were building one of our houses, we went down to Indianapolis to pick out lighting. And, back then in Hamilton County, there wasn't a lot of places you could go. So we were traveling down there. I was driving. Our son was in the back seat right behind me, and my husband was next to me in the passenger seat. And, it was a 4 lane. So we come up. There's a van right here, or a big truck. I think it was a van or a big, I think it was a van. And we were right here in the right lane. And the light was red. And then all of a sudden, the light turned green, and I started forward. But this guy didn't. The guy in the left lane didn't. And I moved forward. And as I was starting to move forward, my husband yelled, "Stop!" And I slammed on the brake. And as soon as I did that, a big truck come right through. He had run the red light.
Wow.
And my husband said, I have no idea where that came from. I had no idea what made him say that.
Wow. So that was his spirit guide. Yeah.
Or who knows?
Yeah.
My son's, his,
Yeah.
I don't know, but it came through him and stopped
Hmm.
because had I not, I wouldn't be here today because that was a big truck and he was going at a high rate of speed through that red light.
Wow. Yeah.
That's wow. That's just fascinating. I mean, yeah. I feel like with your first story, everything happens for a reason. Like if you had given that magic up at that time of your life, you might not have um, gone the direction that you are now, because
Very true.
you would be more skeptical of people, and
Oh, I'd be a whole cynic. Yeah, sure.
like you wouldn't believe in magic. And you
Mm-mm.
have to, I think part of this whole thing is you have to be open to the experience.
Mm.
And if you're not, well, it's going to be a much less vibrant existence.
Right?
So, yeah, it's not going to be, you're not going to, there's so much that is always happening around us. And so often we're like this, that we don't always take the opportunity to stop and, let the blinders be down and see.
Well, we can be both open and skeptical. I mean, because it's also kind of like someone that just like believes every single little thing is a miracle and meant to be, and on and on. I mean, I still like to, as you guys know, run things through my analytical mind a little bit.
Is it skeptical or is it discernment?
It's discernment. That is the word I should have used. That's what
I
I
like
mean.
discernment better.
Yeah.
I like
Yeah.
discernment.
Yeah, you have to be discerning. Otherwise, you're just like, whoa, everything is like,
Rainbows
super
and
amazing.
unicorns.
If everything's super amazing, then nothing, you have no flow, you have no dynamics in the life. And, I know I came in with a really big imagination as a child, and sometimes imagination itself, I'd like to look more into the definition of just what that is. But leaving it as what we kind of assume it is, I was very imaginative as a child. And as I think once I got kind of in my teen years, the analytical mind kind of clouded that. And most of my imagination is in this constant flow of music that comes through me, But the key for me would be kind of like just open that imagination up to the whole life experience. Let this discernment be where it will, but don't let discernment become skepticism. Kind of keep that. I mean, I had my Santa Claus story too when I was little. I would just remember, and I still absolutely believe what I saw at 4 years old, because I was a sleepwalker too when I was little. I heard a lot of stories about that, but I was about 4 years old, and it was we had the Christmas tree up and everything, and I think I was sleepwalking, and I walked over into the living room where the Christmas tree was. I saw Santa in his full suit, and when he saw me, out of surprise, he took his thumb and put it in his belly button and disappeared, and that was that. And I still feel like I saw Santa Claus, so I'm not quite the Scrooge that I might seem to be sometimes, but yeah. There was a lot of fun with imagination when I was little.
Cool story.
Wow.
Yeah. How that works, that the thumb in the belly button would be a disappearing act. I think I probably tried that a few times.
Wow. If you figure that out, let me know.
Okay.
That would be great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or maybe that was a spirit guide or an angel. And to answer your question, can they manifest as real people? I don't know. I think angels can. I don't know. I can tell you I had my experience. It felt very real. It shifted me profoundly.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
And one that the yelling out that's coming through, I would say that's a guardian angel, whether it was his, mine, our son's.
Right.
It
Right.
saved our lives.
Yeah.
So I just think there's so much going on in this world that we just, you see about it, you hear about it, but until it happens to you, you're like, oh. And then when you think about it, it's like, well, wait a minute. Just like you said, Missy, wait a minute. I do remember a story. I did see Santa Claus. I know he was there, you
Mm-hmm.
know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Sometimes it can fly by without you recognizing. And just like with Christina and her aunt. I mean, there she was. I mean, it was profound then, but as she ages, she looks back and she realizes how profound.
Yeah.
So it gained momentum
Mm-hmm.
as you look back and realize how odd that was.
Oh,
That
yeah.
there had to be some orchestration behind it.
Mm-hmm.
And as a QHHT practitioner, I know she knows.
Yeah.
That gave a whole new dimension.
Yes. Well, knowing what I know now, it's like, oh wow, that makes it even more magical in some respects because of all the things that had to fall into place in order for that to happen.
So, any last words on this, my amigas?
Yeah, I'm going to propose this question. What percent of your life would you say you now live in just kind of a mode of surrender and watching it flow versus trying to control it and thinking, if you don't do such and such a thing, and it's not going to happen?
I think I kind of get hung up in stuff sometimes. I mean, for me, I can't speak for anybody else, but I try to stay in the now moment, what you're trying to say, and not get hung up. But life happens, and it's like, okay, how do I navigate this experience? Without the experience taking me over versus me staying in control of where I'm at in that moment. Right? So I'm not like projecting into the future and worrying about that next thing. So I am human, you know, and those things do pop up. I can't say I've hit the point where I'm constantly in the Zen state. I'm not there. I mean, I try to be there. I'm there most of the time, but I can get out of alignment.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. What about you, Christina?
I struggle to be in the moment because I feel like the nature of my job sometimes doesn't always allow me to stay, because I think about in meditation, the past and the future are outside of my bubble. My bubble is the now moment.
Mm-hmm.
And I actually got very stern with some of my students because I get concerned because they are constantly on a device. So they're either in the past or they're looking at the future. They're never in the moment. And I said, I very loudly, I said, I smacked my hand on my desk and I said, you need to be present. And they just kind of all looked at me and I was like, you are not present. You are not here. You need to be here. And they were just like, huh? It's like, what is she on about? And it's just like, so sometimes it's hard. I see the effect of not being present,
Moment, right?
but I also have my own challenges with being present because I'm living here now, and I think that's part of what makes your experience is that challenge of trying to stay in the moment.
Right. I know in school, like middle school and high school, I didn't have a device, but I needed to have a desk by a window because, man, I need to stare out that window and just be in my thoughts. It was hard to be in the moment in classes that weren't engaging for me or that weren't challenging. And I remember spending a lot of time, like, just in my thoughts. And I don't know if that would be considered being present. I mean, I was present in my thoughts, just not present in that class, but yeah, the devices, that's a whole, we don't even know what that is.
A whole other story for a whole other video.
Yeah. But yeah.
All right, last word. Yep, last words.
Listen and be present. I think we will all have guidance from, and have guidance from spirit guides. Yeah.
Just be open.
Everybody, thank you for watching. We appreciate it. We would love for you guys to engage with us. Leave us a comment. What kind of woo stuff do you want us to talk about? We're about all things woo, after all. So with that, please hit the like button and subscribe so you don't miss another woo video, because if you don't give us something, we're definitely going to be finding something to be talking about. All right. Thanks for watching.
Thanks.